Do you feel like you have been mislabeled and categorized in your family? Well, if you do, you're certainly not alone. There are a lot of families that I see in clinical practice and some of the research I've been a part of, and even amongst coworkers that are in the same position that you are in. It can be really difficult to be in your family and feel like you know nothing about yourself because everyone in your family labels you this or labels you that or categorizes you over there, and it gives you this mistaken identity. This mistaken identity has a way of seeping into your consciousness, seeping into your heart, and categorizing you without your permission. What do you do when your family members say, you know what, this is you, and that's all there is to you? We know that that is not a reality, that we are multidimensional adults and humans who can be categorized in many ways. It's not something that I'm sure you are okay with. I'm sure you want your family to see you in a way that is healthy. But sadly, a mistaken identity could be created all around you. Probably because of something that went wrong in the family, some kind of confrontation or some kind of clashing of opinions, values, behaviors, whatever the case may be. I understand that labeling and categorizing is a part of what we do as human beings, but there has to be a limit to that. So in today's video, I'm going to discuss the psychology of a mistaken identity, of being labeled incorrectly, of being seen through the wrong lens. So if you feel like this is you, keep watching. What's going on here? Well, there's a lot of research that suggests that there's a variety of reasons as to why you may be mislabeled and why you may develop a mistaken identity over time. Let's say, for example, you're in a family where mom is a narcissistic character and dad has some really cold, callous behaviors and characteristics to him that paints how he deals with you. You have both of these parents who are unstable. So what's going on here? Why are they labeling you? Well, most likely because of what we call polarization or black and white thinking. And that's when an individual only sees you in black and white terms. You are either the scapegoat or you are not. You are either rebellious or you are perfect. There's no in between, right? Which means there's often no mistakes that are acceptable by those people in your family. So the minute you make a mistake, the minute you make the wrong turn, the minute you do something that doesn't please them, they automatically see you as a negative person. We can categorize that as splitting as well. I'm splitting you, right, between good and evil, and there is no gray in between. A lot of these families also deal with poor self-image, right, and misinformation, and that may get projected onto you. You may find yourself dealing with projection. You may find yourself dealing with misinformation, right? Situations where family members are spreading around misinformation because they missed that important detail. Somebody's gossiping or somebody's saying something about you, or somebody is, peeking around each bin looking for something bad on you. So then what does that do? That causes misinformation within your family. And then there's that rumor or that gossip that's not really the truth, or maybe it's an altered form of the truth. But either way, it's painful. Now, let me also mention social influence. Social influence is in here as well. We can also throw in social media. Sometimes family members who are toxic and are looking for reasons to label you may go on social media and pick and pull apart some of your posts. Maybe you made a post about being unwanted or unloved, and your family member, probably the busybody one, goes onto social media and just kind of researches all of your posts and says, you know what, I'm going to look at this post, right? And then it's a poem that you wrote, or maybe it's something that you shared, and the family member decides, I'm going to blow this up. I'm going to call Carol and let her know she's talking about her on social media. When the reality may be that, no, you're just posting something that you feel strongly about. But there are certain people who will take that to mean that you're talking about them. So there's that narrow view of things, that misinformation, that social influence, right? Sometimes family members get on social media and they gossip, or they post comments underneath a picture or something that you posted. And it becomes this very dramatized, exaggerated form of existence. Let's also not forget something that's known as an assigned family role. We all get assigned roles within our family, whether we realize it or not. And so for me, in my family, I'm the hero. For other family members, they are, my mom is the black sheep. They are, the selfish one, the addict, the depressed one, the anxious one, the one who likes to fight and blow up. So depending on what your assigned role is within the family will determine the mistaken identity that you've kind of fallen under, especially if it's dysfunctional and toxic. So the only thing you've got is that label they've given you, that mistaken identity, right? Very unfair. You may also notice unresolved intergenerational trauma as the reason for this mistaken identity. Now, let's say, for example, your great-grandmother begins telling you about secrets in your family. She may be telling you something like, your dad is not really who you thought he was. Your sister is not really who you thought she was. Your cousin is not really your cousin. That's your aunt, right? Your great-grandmother decides to divulge that information on her deathbed. So now you not only have to look at your mom, right, or your father as the ones who maintain that secret, or maybe they didn't know themselves, but now you've got to look at your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and generations before her, and try to determine how far back does this secret go, and in what ways is this going to influence the way that I see things, right? So intergenerational trauma that's unresolved and can go back for many generations can also add to your mistaken identity, right? There is absolutely no authenticity in your family, that you are kind of like a detective. You have to go on this scavenger hunt to figure out what's truth and what's not truth, right? Authenticity in the field of psychology, or more specifically existentialism, says that authenticity is your actions that are congruent with your values and your desires. That's authenticity, right? That your actions are congruent with your values and your desires. And in dysfunctional, toxic families, authenticity doesn't exist because everybody is confused. Everybody is mislabeled. Everybody is miscategorized. And so who are you really? So there's an idea in research known as the HEXAGO model. And that model has 6 dimensions of personality. I'm going to list them right here. That model has honesty and humility, emotionality, extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness to experience. This is not the personality 5 model, the big factor 5 model. This is the 6 dimensions model. I'm going to call it that. Here it is right here up on the screen so that you can see what it is. And this theory basically says that if you don't have these characteristics, then you're probably going to exist differently within the world. So you may want to step back and look at this model and say, does my family have these characteristics? Is there humility here? Is there honesty? Is there agreeableness? And if this is not my family, then I really need to look at what I'm dealing with, right? Am I dealing with a sociopath? Am I dealing with psychopaths, right? Which are sometimes one and the same. Am I dealing with a narcissist? Am I dealing with a manipulator, a triangulator? What am I dealing with here? So sometimes you can look at these personality models and get a little bit of a feel as to what you're dealing with. So how do you find yourself in this? Well, there's a couple of things that, I use in my own personal life that I encourage my clients use, that psychology has backed up as powerful and helpful. And so I'm going to list them right now. The first thing that you want to do to find yourself and ground yourself in your own identity is search for clues in your past. Search for clues in your past. You want to be able to take some time and psychologically and emotionally process what has happened in my past that has had a direct influence on who I am now, on how I'm seeing things now, right? What is going on in my past, or what has gone on in my past that may be contributing to where I am now in my life, how I see things, how I interact, the people I entertain, the reasons why I entertain people that are harmful to me, right? Look at your path. It's very important. The other thing that you want to do is ask yourself, what story do I tell myself, right? I think we all tell ourselves a story in some fashion. And the storyline in our mind and in our life may actually be, you know, I'm the manipulated. I'm the one who gets mistreated all the time. I'm the one who is never listened to. I'm the black sheep or the scapegoat. You want to be able to look at this and ask yourself, what is the story that I tell myself? Am I telling myself a story that is harmful? Am I telling myself a story that allows me to find a remedy? Or am I telling myself a story that is just gloom and doom? There's no way to back, you know, to take steps back, and live a different life, right? So you want to know, by asking yourself the very serious question, what is the story that I tell myself? The other thing you want to think about is you don't want to look at life as happening to you. You want to be able to look at life as happening for you. In other words, I'm going to grow from this experience. I'm going to find some meaning and some purpose in this experience. I am not going to sink under this experience. If this experience didn't happen to me, would I be who I am today, even though it's painful? Can I find my way into a better and a different life because of this particular situation? And I find myself spiritually and personally saying, I don't think so. If I didn't experience the painful things I've experienced in my life, I don't think I would be a good therapist, to be honest. I don't think I would understand pain and relationship dynamics and family dynamics in the way that I do. And I certainly don't believe that I would be able to process with all of you on my channel what the dynamics are of human experience. Lastly, I don't think I'd be so close to my faith and to God if I didn't have the things that pushed me towards him. So there's some purpose here. You also want to separate yourself from people who don't push you into a better form of yourself. If these people are not family members, friends, whatever, are not pushing you towards a better version of yourself, watch out. You want to get away from them. They're not okay. They're just not okay. You want to be able to avoid turning away from your direct experience. You don't want to push it down, internalize it, throw it in the back, and say, you know what, I'm not there anymore. I'm going to move on. You don't want to do that. You want to confront your issues first and foremost, if you can, and you want to be able to research them and understand them and process your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Try to avoid turning away from your direct experience. It's not going to help you. Live intentionally to impact the lives of others. If you feel like you can't impact your life or others' lives in a positive way, then what are you doing here, right? You want to be able to look and say, what am I contributing? What part belongs to me, and how can I do things in a different way to affect myself and to affect other people? Set healthy boundaries and stay in your lane. Sometimes you're looking over into that car, sometimes you're looking over there into that car, and sometimes you're looking over there into that car, and you don't realize that you're only seeing a fragment of their reality for a split second. You don't know what they've had to go through. You don't know why they have what they have, why they are where they are in their life. So you want to be able to step back and say, wait a minute, why am I jealous of that one? Or why am I thinking I wish I was, them? Or why am I so concerned about that neighbor over there, right? What's going on in my life, in my lane, that I need to keep my time and attention on? And lastly, in this category, you really do want to put your character first. No matter who is in your life, applying some kind of label to you, or manipulating you, triangulating you, or somehow getting you to have a label or an identity that doesn't belong to you. Sometimes if you let that affect you, then you can't move forward. So you really want to put your character first. This is who I am. This is the truth of who I am. Here's my reputation, and this is what I'm going to continue to push forward no matter what you think of me. Thank you so much for being with me in tonight's video. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.